I want to have a bit of a serious conversation here. We'll get into why in a minute. But John Hunter Nemechek took the win. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily the story that everybody was talking about on social media after the race. There was more controversy that came up in regards to the winner's interview on the front stretch. As Nemechek was being interviewed, he and FS1's Jamie Little were faced with another instance of fan interference, and we have a clip to show you on that front as well. Take a look.
Everyone that puts their heart and soul into what's going on is huge. So,
Brandon, it just makes me sick that some quote-unquote so-called fans, and I'm going to call them so-called fans, continue to think that this is acceptable behavior. So I want to get your reaction to this. And I also want to ask, do you think this is further proof that we should go back to what worked for decades and bring the winner's interview back to victory lane?
Yeah, I'm pretty dumbfounded by seeing that again. It's disappointing that we still have things like that happening in the stands and people that have the audacity. I mean, they're obviously intoxicated, or maybe they're not, but intoxicated fans not making the best judgments here. And I think the broadcast or NASCAR, whoever it is, not making the best judgment here, keeping the driver victory interviews so close to the fans. And like you said, like we've been saying, last time we had an incident, we need to move things back to victory lane where they belong. It's where the victor goes, and that's where you have your interview. And it wasn't broke, and we tried to fix it. And this is the fruit of that endeavor. I think it's proved to be something that we shouldn't be doing. And more importantly, in the view of driver safety, it's certainly not something we should be putting drivers in a position of being injured or, I mean, even killed. Who knows what they're going to be throwing out there and how far away they're going to be throwing it at you.
You know, I should have waited a week to release that video I did, because then I could have used some footage from this weekend and, just another instance highlighting, I don't want to throw all fans under the bus, but, I used a couple instances from Talladega. And, there was a time when Jeff Gordon was being pelted with beer cans and soda bottles and all that.
I remember seeing that live. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that, is concerning enough when you're in the car. And then, just imagine if, Steve Burns or Matt Yoakum back in 2004, whoever it would have been, had to run out and do a winner's interview on the front stretch in the midst of that situation. I mean, surely they would have had to call some sort of audible and maybe bring Jeff straight to victory lane. But, I want to put a call out here. I doubt anybody from Fox or NBC is watching this, but
no,
it is a sentiment that I think it's not a controversial opinion. You look at what's trending on social media every time we have one of these interviews and something goes slightly wrong. You can just go ask Brandon Brown what happened to his entire career.
Ruined his career, man.
Yeah. I mean, it really did.
It's a shame.
And, it's just something that I don't think, you can say we can try to convince fans to be better, but there's thousands of fans in the grandstands. You're pretty much guaranteed to have a handful that are going to cause problems like this. And it's not just, throwing stuff onto a track. We've seen, I remember, we were just talking about Matt Kenseth a few minutes ago. You remember the Watkins Glen race in 2007 where they were under a red flag and a fan ran out onto the track trying to get his autograph.
Yeah.
We've seen fans, climb the fence for no reason under green. I mean, it's just, some of them can be a rowdy bunch. And unfortunately, I think when you put the drivers that close to them, because that's what you want to do for the winner's interview, it puts the driver at risk and it puts the interviewer at risk as well. But if that beer can is just a little bit over to the left, it strikes Nemechek or Little in the head. Who knows what could have happened. I think we had a comment from Amber as well. That would have knocked out anybody. Absolutely.
And I was under the impression that they do not have glass containers at sporting events. Maybe is that not the case? Was that a glass bottle?
I think it
looked like it.
I think it was a full beer can. I think Nemechek
can. So. Okay. Like a tall boy kind of can. Okay.
Something like that. But it was unopened. So it was certainly full. And,
so they'd obviously had a few, so they weren't too concerned about the one that was unopened. So that might tell some more of the story than we've already heard.
Yeah. And I mean, completely unprovoked too. Like forgive me if I'm wrong here, but I don't recall Nemechek doing anything in particular during the race that would have, upset an average fan.
Not at that race anyway, but
Yeah.
fans will be fans, and so-called fans will be so-called fans.
Yeah.
Thug was identified and caught. Yeah.
Yeah, I do believe I heard that as well. At least they identified whoever it was, and absolutely, I think it may sound harsh, but you do something that ridiculous and stupid. I think unfortunately there's nothing else there's no other punishment that fits the crime. That can't happen again, and the way to ensure that is to keep you from the racetrack.
You're going on the list.
Yep, and
Jamie
absolutely,
Little.
Jamie Little as well being out there. I feel like Dega and Darlington would be the worst fans to do this stuff. I know Talladega, unfortunately, certainly has that reputation. Would have liked to think maybe Darlington didn't, but one more incident like this, maybe that they'll start gaining that reputation, which I think is unfortunate because Darlington is one of the most historic tracks that we go to, as is Talladega. So it is unfortunate that this has to be in the back of drivers' minds.
She mentions Dega. That reminds me of the time that the pace car was stolen and taken for a joyride, and immediately apprehended. But it was more of a laugh than a danger. But yeah, also a danger. I mean, the race hadn't started yet, I think, so it was more of a laugh. But anyway,
stop this whenever you like. There's all sorts of instances where fans have done something that simply shouldn't be done. Day in the Life here says maybe stop allowing fans to bring coolers full of beer. I know there was a big cooler controversy last summer at Nashville.
Still going on.
That's your home track, right? Is there any update on that?
I haven't seen anything yet. People are just making jokes about it on their social media. They've got a project going on across the street from the speedway, and they're laying down some concrete and stuff. And people are like, "Oh, is that like where you're going to bury all the coolers of the world so we can't, people just being really tongue in cheek about it?" But no, not really any update per se. I think a lot of people are just going to keep bringing their grocery bags of water and ice and making the most of it, because that's another story.
Yeah, well, we're certainly glad that Nemechek and Jamie Little are okay, and I imagine I think John Hunter said he thought a tire blew eventually, so it wasn't until after the fact. The can did go behind him, unfortunately, and only hit his truck. But I think if this isn't the wake up call for the networks and for NASCAR that maybe it's a good idea to go back to victory lane, I don't know what is. I think there's a whole laundry list of reasons that the victory lane interview there's a stronger case to be made for it than the Fronstretch interview. And then you take into account the idea that somebody could get hurt with an idiot throwing something onto the track. I think it's just not worth the risk.
And I hate to say it, I hate to be like this, but I think it, like other things, it will take somebody getting hurt before they decide to do something about it.